Welcome, North Carolina education leaders. Thank you so much for joining us as we review Lighting Our Way Forward, North Carolina's guidance on reopening K-12 public schools. Today, we are with you to review the instructional planning and scheduling section from the guidebook. Today with us, we have Dr. Tammy Howard, Dr. Angie Mullinex, Dr. Vanessa Wren, and myself, Sneha Shah Coltrane. We've all led this work group at DPI and are so pleased to be here with you today to review the information. Let's first begin on looking at how to use the new NCDPI guidance resource for lighting our way forward. How this will, what you will do is when you're in the summary document that has been sent to you in various formats and is also available on the website, you will click on any of the links or the photo strip here where my cursor is. When you link to any of these images or the other words on each opening page, it will take you to the in-depth guidance that is aligned with DHHS guidance, but also goes a step further in helping you operationalize each of the requirements and recommendations, both by DHHS and other ideas for consideration from the Department of Public Instruction. Today, and as we move through the summer, when you have questions regarding the health guidance that has been prepared by DHHS, please send your questions to Strong Schools North Carolina at dhhs.nc.gov. If you have questions regarding lighting our way forward, the guidebook, please feel free to ask questions using this bit.ly. This will take you to a form where you will enter your question, and then we will eventually be publishing all of those responses in an ongoing FAQ for you to look at ongoing to see what some of your other colleagues are asking and to continue your own development. So we are going to get started looking at reopening the COVID-19 reopening plans and scheduling. Per DHHS, there will be 3 plans your school district or charter school will be developing in order to move very flexibly based on both state public health needs as well as local public health needs. Plan A has to do with minimum social distancing. Plan B is moderate if the metrics worsen. And Plan C is if we are back to remote learning only. For Plan A, all the students will still be coming into school. It is the least restrictive of all of the plans, but there will still be certain enhanced health protocols that our other work groups will be sharing with you in other webinars, and it is available in the guidebook as well. Under Plan B, it is where we limit student density to no greater than 50%. Some of you may even do 20%, but it is less than 50%. Those, of course, have additional enhanced health requirements from DHHS. And then Plan C is only remote learning. And that would be what has happened from March until the end of the school year recently, but of course being more strategic and more intentional as we move into the next school year. That plan will actually be aligned from a student learning perspective with the remote instruction plans that are due to DPI at the end of July. But now let's go on to scheduling, because when we look at each of these plans, we really need to think about how we can accommodate our students into our buildings and how we could possibly do that when we're thinking of having some social distancing at a minimum level, some more moderate and social distancing with reduced capacity, as well as full remote learning. So what we have today going to be reviewing with you are both the teaching and learning aspects of the 3 reopening plans and also the scheduling options. With reopening Plan A, we will be reviewing what needs to happen within the day. Um, with Plan B, we have multiple options to get you started to think about how to best address reducing your student density. We have 14 major ideas in the guidebook that will start you thinking, and we know you'll even have other ideas. And then reopening Plan C when it comes to scheduling will be fully remote. We're now going to take you out of this document into the actual guidebook. So in the guidebook here is where for scheduling it will take you when you click on the summary document. Here we have Plan A, where we do give you ideas of how you can, within the school day, uh, more effectively look at social distancing. There are also many other recommendations throughout the document, especially in the student health and safety section, ranging from the front lobby of how you could do that, all the way to the carpool and the cafeteria. So lots of different ideas throughout the guidebook. Plan B is going to be where we have done some of the deepest thinking with our partners, our external partners from school districts who have helped us come up with lots of different options. While you develop Plan B, you also need to consider all the other factors that play into this, whether it's transportation, whether it's scheduling transitions, professional assignments, etc., and clear communication. So we have a few things for you to consider here, and then we dive in. We have 14 various options throughout the guidebook. We give you a description, some examples of how you can reduce capacity, but then also some initial benefits, but also challenges that each local school district or charter school will be able to tackle based on your own local context and needs. Department, we are not in your shoes. We are not in your local communities. So this is where our best thinking is here to guide you and to get your ideas flowing, so that way locally you can think of how to meet these various challenges, of all the other benefits and other topics that will need to be resolved. Like I said, we have about 14 ideas ranging from looking at grade spans and grade levels, maybe alternating those with remote and on-site, looking at alternating days if you needed to reduce the capacity to an A day, B day, or maybe one cohort comes Monday, Wednesday, and another cohort comes on site Tuesday, Thursday. Lots of different options here. Another one, maybe it's by weeks, where we have one group of students that come week 1 to reduce capacity, where you've cut your classes in half, and then they go home the next week with certain activities and application projects. And then the next group comes. Maybe that's by 2 weeks. Some districts are thinking even by quarter. So looking at things in lots of different ways, we have several other options here as well to help you think through what could possibly be for a Plan B. Of course, with any of these schedules, in particular A and B, where some students are on site, you will always need to offer an option for full remote learning for our vulnerable populations who have medical needs, who will need to be at home to keep themselves at lower risk for COVID-19. And then Plan C, since Plan C is remote learning only, we don't offer scheduling options, but we do want to remind you that it is connected to your remote plans that will be coming to us on July 20th as a especially with teaching and aspect of it. And all the other factors would still need to be considered as appropriate. So that's when we look at our scheduling for the COVID-19 reopening plans, which will be a Plan A, a Plan B, and a Plan C. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Vanessa Wren, who's going to talk to you a little bit about teaching and learning. Dr. Wren?
Thank you so much, Sneha. So just as you were just reviewed with that you have different schedules for Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C, it's also important to be prepared for student learning for each one of the plans, Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. So we're going to go right back to this document that has the guidance, and we're going to look at each plan. And you can reference page 58, and that's where the beginning of those student plans will appear. And you can see that Plan A is traditional instruction, but your primary goal is to prepare your students and your staff to move to Plan B or Plan C if you need to. There are many considerations that you will find that will help you prepare students in the event that they do need to move to a Plan B or Plan C, that you may look at and start preparing your parents, your community, and your staff if you need to. We know that it's very helpful to train students while they are on campus face to face. So you'll find that many of these considerations are designed to do that. And we hope you'll find that very helpful. You also will see some benefits and challenges at the bottom of page 59 that you can look at as well. So again, Plan A is traditional instruction, but you're going to focus on preparing for Plan B and Plan C in case you have more distancing or if you are in Plan C, all remote. Then that takes us to Plan B. And Plan B is where we are looking at blended learning models. And we've actually defined blended learning here, that it is the practice of combining classroom learning with the best practices of online learning at the same time. And if you scroll down just a little more to the top of page 61, you will see 6 different models of blended learning. And we want you to be able to look at these, but understand that you may not, and most likely will not, use any one of these models. You're going to have pieces and parts of each one of those to meet each grade span's needs or each school's needs that develop. So station rotation is where students are moving on a fixed schedule between face-to-face and online. And that would blend in with one of the scheduling options that we were just reviewed with you. And it moves on to flex rotation, live distance instruction, and then one where it's all online where you have teacher check-ins, and then a face-to-face driver and online labs. Under each one of those are considerations for communication and the instructional planning. We've also included a resource for how to help your teachers learn how to move their traditional face-to-face instruction to a blended model. The considerations are designed for you to be able to create a connectedness to your students and to be able to have effective remote instruction in different types of models. And then if you move to Plan C is all remote. And this is the one that we've all had just a little bit of emergency experience with, but this will give you the opportunity to thoughtfully think out how you will set up what all remote learning looks like for each one of your students. And we've given you a list of considerations as well. And another excellent resource would be to look at your remote instruction plan that you will be submitting around student learning. And remember, that plan is not to be confused with one of these, but in the remote instruction plan that is as a result of Senate Bill 704 are all the criteria around student learning. So that is also another resource you can use as your guide as you plan for all remote instruction. You might even consider using those 15 components as you plan for your blended learning as well in Plan B. But I do encourage you to look at the considerations here, the benefits and the challenges, and begin planning for what it looks like if all students are off campus. So that takes us around the Plan A, all kids are on campus and you're planning and training them to be remote. Plan B, where you're in a blended learning and we understand that you'll use different types of blended learning to meet your needs. And then Plan C, where all of your students are remote learning. So I am going to wrap up looking at these resources here and overall considerations that you can also find on page 67. And make sure that if you have any questions that you reach out to many of your digital teaching and learning consultants that are on each team. They are very much apprised of what's available and can also help you as you plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Tammy Howard, and she's going to show you some student learning resources.
Thank you, Dr. Wren, and good afternoon to everyone. So the student learning resources are really looking at ways that we can provide information on determining student learning needs. We all know that when the students return in August, that it will have been 5 months since they have been in a face-to-face instructional situation. So our schools will want to use various strategies throughout the beginning of the year and throughout the school year to see students' strengths and weaknesses, to determine ways that we can assist them in their learning, maybe by giving them extra support or scaffolding them with the overall intention, and this is very important, that they receive the current grade level content during the current school year. But we recognize that having gone 5 months without instruction, that there may definitely need to be additional opportunities to make sure that the students do not have any existing missed opportunities from the previous year content standards. And also in this process, we also would like to remind us all to be cognizant of the need that there are some students who may need additional opportunities to extend learning. So as has always been the case and will always continue to be, we have student learners across the spectrum or across a continuum, and we need to be mindful of their needs so that we're giving all students the opportunities that they need to excel and learn as much as they possibly can. We're very fortunate at the department because our Standards Curriculum and Instruction Division that is led by Dr. Angie Molinex, they are putting together some formative assessment professional development sessions that will occur beginning in July, I believe, for the summer of 2020. And this is very timely in that this approach to really engaging the student and the teacher, whether it's face-to-face or whether it's remote, and having that ongoing conversation of obtaining understanding of what the student knows and the student is able to do and what the student has yet to know and needs to learn. And formative assessment is absolutely an optimal way to address this with our students. It is grounded in the classroom and is really optimizing the relationship between the teacher and the student and encouraging each one of them to identify areas that need additional support or resources. So on the link on the slide that says Summer 2020, if you click there, you'll be able to go to a spreadsheet that provides all of the professional development opportunities. And these professional development opportunities, of course, will be updated as they are provided throughout the summer. So, and they will also be provided on listservs from our Standards Curriculum and Instruction Division. The last bullet on this slide is talking about some resources, 2 of which are new and 2 that have been provided for some time now, that we have put together to give some tools that teachers can use in the classroom to assist with this identification of where students have weaknesses and where they have strengths, particularly with respect to the previous year content standards for students. So for example, a student who's currently in grade 5 in the 2020-21 school year, these resources, particularly the new resources, would address the previous year content standards of when the student was in the 4th grade. Now, these have been developed to give really much flexibility to locals in determining how they would like to use them. And in fact, there's actually 2 different types of tools, but these 2 tools actually duplicate items across the two of them. So it's not necessary to use both of them. You can use one, the one that meets your needs the best. So just briefly, I'll describe them to you. The first one is referred to as Passport for Learning. And the Passport for Learning is a collection of items, about 35 to 40 items that are aligned to the student's previous grade level content. These will be available beginning on July 15th, and due to copyright restrictions for the reading selections, they will have to go away on October 30th. But this would be for an opportunity to bring, when the students first come back, to give them just a very short collection of items on the previous year's content standards to see how they were doing, to see where there might be some areas that they need additional work on. These will be provided paper pencil and also online through NC Test. So that means they'll be able to be scored electronically, just like your regular end of grade assessments or end of course assessments are scanned and scored. The reports for these will be more aligned to what you're used to receiving with NC check-ins. So that means we'll be providing a score report for each student so that you can see which items the student got correct, which items the student got incorrect, and when the student answered it incorrect, you'll be able to see which answer choice the student chose instead of the correct answer. And that's very important, particularly in this formative conversation with the student and the teacher, for them to look and see perhaps how the student has a misconception that can be corrected going forward. The other new tool is referred to as math sets, and that's in the green box. These are very similar items to the Passport for Learning. In fact, as I've already said, there's some duplication. But when we asked our colleagues across the state if they were interested in a Passport for Learning, and we described what that would look like, the feedback we got was, well, we might just want some collection of items and not in this traditional collection of 35 altogether, but maybe more domain-based. And so that's what you see here, but they're only for math. They're not for reading. And they're available for grades 4 through 8, NC Math 1 and NC Math 2. And just like the Passport for Learning, they're always looking back at the previous grade level. So a grade 4 math set is actually items that are aligned to the grade 3 content standards. These, of course, can be available all year long and are in fact encouraged to be used as needed throughout the entire school year. And these are teacher scored. These are not electronically scored, but for both of these resources, we're providing them with the answer keys to your local test coordinator or accountability director, and encourage having conversations on how to best use them on a voluntary basis. These are not required from the state, but with the intent of having flexibility and thinking of the learning, thinking of that formative process and how these can be used. Even the Passport for Learning does not have to be given in one session at one time. It can go along over time. The other two resources at the bottom, the release test, have been available for some time. We always have that on our website. We have added for your use some constructive response items for the reading assessments. And then, of course, the last one to the far right is SchoolNet. Many of you already utilize SchoolNet. It's an excellent source of tools and assessment items. And just so you know, this past school year, we uploaded 13,000 items into SchoolNet. So there's a lot of new material there. We are going to put the math sets in SchoolNet as well, so you can go there to access them. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Angie Mullinex, who will close us out, I think.
Thank you so much, Dr. Howard. Thank you for listening to our webinar today. I'm going to wrap us up with a few resources that we'd like to turn your attention to. As you'll see on that resources page, we have linked up some valuable information from DHHS, the CDC, the EPA, the FDA, and also HHS and OSHA. We recommend that you reference those links for information regarding sanitation, hygiene, disinfecting, things of that nature, so that you can ensure you are following those guidelines. Go to the next slide. And also we want to remind you that if you have particular questions regarding DHHS's guidance, you are welcome to send those questions to Strong Schools NC at dhhs.nc.gov. And if you have specific questions regarding the NC DPI guidance that we have discussed here and that you have also heard in the other webinars and read in the guidance documents, you can follow that bit.ly link to ask those particular questions. And again, we want to thank you on behalf of Dr. Tammy Howard, Dr. Vanessa Wren, and Sneha Shah Coltrane. We appreciate your time, and we hope that we have been able to resolve some of your questions. If not, we are here to assist you. And again, we want to remind you that you can also ask those questions through the NCDPI guidance questions link. Thank you.